Let's talk about how you can go from making 3K a month as a sole trader, as a self-employed sports therapist, and taking your business, tripling your revenue in 18 months, going from a 70-hour clinical week to a 26-hour clinical week, whilst your income, your take-home income continues to grow. You can go on 5 hen-dos in a year. You can take a business meeting abroad with one of your colleagues, and you can have time for the things that you want to do in your life. Well, I am very excited to introduce somebody today called Jodie Rushin, who has been with Thrive 3 years now, just over 3 years. Well, she's just coming into her 3rd year. And Jodie spoke at Clinic Growth Live, for those of you who were there, and had the pleasure of listening to her story. I cannot believe how many people commented on those stories on stage, and I thought, you know what, I need to bring this to all of the listeners, because if it just inspires one person to know that there is hope and that they don't have to stay on that hamster wheel and just keep doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results, then it has been worth it. So without further ado, grab your cup of tea and listen up, because this is one heck of a story.
Welcome to the Treat Your Business podcast with Katie Bell. I am Katie, and this is the place to learn the strategies, tactics, tools and mindset needed to build your clinical studio into a business that gives you the time, money, energy and fulfillment you want and deserve. My team and I work every day with overwhelmed and exhausted clinic owners like you to shift them from a business that is a huge time and energy drain and is not giving them the income they want, to confident clinic owners that are making money, saving money and getting time back in their lives. So if this sounds like something you want, let's dive in.
Good morning, Jodie.
Morning.
Morning. Thank you for giving up some of your very precious time, because you are a super busy lady, to be here. And we just had a chat, didn't we, before we came on live, and I was just saying at Clinic Growth Live, that was this big event that we ran last year, we had 4 people like you being one of them, on stage. And we just got to talk together and explain to the people in the audience who are watching what your journey has been like since, well, what life was like before Thrive, what life is like now you're a part of Thrive, then and kind of what tangible changes you've seen in your business and in your life. And I just thought that would be really nice. It would break the day up. It would mean that I wasn't talking all the time and I would get other people on the stage. And then after the event, the feedback we got from the people in the audience being inspired by you and the others was just overwhelming. And I didn't realise that it would have that much impact. So I decided that in 2025, I was going to do more of these episodes, because if it helps one person who is listening to this feel like there is hope and that there is something that they can do, and that they resonate with your story, Jodie, and realise that you're a really normal person most of the time, then it's worth it. So thank you for being here, Jodie, and thank you for inspiring our audience who are going to be listening to this.
Yeah. And I think we felt it at Clinic Growth Live, the 4 of us. I think prior to going on stage, we were all a bit like, oh, we've got to share our story. Certainly the night before. But then when we were on there, it just came natural, because that was our stories. So it was us being us. So, and then we were just in a room full of obviously clinic owners that were potentially where we were a couple of years ago. So this is my 3rd year with Thrive. So it's a big journey, but the growth is amazing. So I think the title of Clinic Growth Live said it all, really.
Absolutely. So let's take the listeners back, because I remember meeting a certain Jodie at Therapy Expo. Is it 3 Novembers ago or 2?
3 Novembers ago.
3 Novembers ago. And I was then like, Thrive was a lot smaller. We were in a little stand, weren't we? And did you come and listen to one of my talks and then come and chat to me, or did you come and chat to me first?
So I went to Therapy Expo to do CPD, but at that time I had an interest in how the business was needing to grow and how I was working so many hours. And I think how it stemmed was there was 2 business coaching companies at Clinic Growth Live, but what occurred was I went to your talk and I was like, that's me. And the fact that yourself being a physiotherapist and in a healthcare background, it resonated more with me. So I think it was like, I need her. So I remember obviously booking in my chat with you and then just thinking, I need to offload on this woman. She's going to think I'm mad. But now I know what that means. I'm a red. So literally, I think I tore down the walls and just bawled my eyes out.
Yeah.
And it came from a place where I was just overexhausted, overworked, I would add up weeks where I was doing 70 hours clinical, Monday through Sunday. At that point, I was doing home visits as well as clinical. And I got to the point where I was like, enough's enough. And I think you gave me 3 things to action. And at that point, I think you were like, you're going to just action straight away. I get that vibe. And I think I did. And then a week later, I was with Thrive.
It was
literally
the easiest thing ever for me. But I remember that feeling. I remember like feeling your feelings of being completely exhausted, completely overwhelmed.
Yeah.
You were spinning so many plates.
And wasn't seeing any financial gain from that. As mad as that sounds, now I have a process in place. So I know what goes in, goes out, etc., etc. But at that time, I just took what was in the account, but it wasn't making sense because there was 70 hours clinical or appointments a week.
Yeah.
So you'd think I'd be driving around in a Ferrari, but I wasn't.
That's what all your staff and clients think.
Yeah.
The reality is somewhat different.
Well, you must be minted. No money.
No, mate. I'm knackered. I'm absolutely knackered.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had a chat at Therapy Expo 3 Novembers ago. I gave you some very specific things to action because I was like, I felt at the time, I was like, we can definitely help you. But you were, and you don't mind me saying this, Jodie, you were at a size of business where to leap into investing in your business and yourself was a massive thing for you. And I remember thinking, this girl ain't making any profit. So this is going to be a big ask for her to take that leap of faith and invest some money to grow her business and make that change. How did you get that round that decision in your head?
I'm a spender. And I do believe in risk and reward. And I think the evidence was there. So having worked with Philippa and everyone in the team, I know that I'm very evidence-based. And for me, the evidence was I was exhausted, I was tired, I was this. So that pushed me into that decision of I need help and I need it now. And I haven't had a team before, so I need the guidance on that. And I think I was just in a mental state where I was genuinely deciding, is this a career for me? Wow. Because it was like, I love it. I have a passion for it. I want to work in healthcare as a sports therapist, but at the same time, it's exhausting me. And I was a people pleaser. Still am a little bit, working on it. But I wanted to do every appointment from 8 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock at night. And that's not sustainable. So that basically led me to that decision of I need help and I need it now and I want to action it now. But I always had a 5-10 year goal being a red. So I'm like, I want team and I want a clinic. And obviously I've done that since being with Thrive. So yeah, for me, it was a no brainer. And financially, I'll just work it out, basically. Like I did having a mortgage and everything else that you go through. So absolutely.
Yeah. And this was like a moment, Jodie, and I remember saying to you, like, if you want different results in your life, you're going to have to do different things. Like, we can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting something to change. And I have so many clinic owners, I guess, when this podcast goes live, it's kind of towards the end of January. And we start the year, don't we, with all these great intentions of like, right, I'm going to have these boundaries in place. I'm going to work less clinical. I'm not going to say yes to all of these extra appointments. I'm not going to be at my staff's beck and call. And we have these wonderful intentions. But I'm guessing listeners listening to this now are already feeling like they're just back on the rat race. They're just back on that hamster wheel. And that's where you were, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it just comes from a point of having processes in place. I guess when you have team, you have to learn to manage that team. So, for example, me and my colleague are away this weekend, but we're taking our business meeting abroad.
Look at you.
So that's quite cool. But I would never have done that because I would have been in a mindset like, oh my God, the clinic's going to crumble around me.
Yeah.
But the process of having a good team in place, all of that side of it, the steps of hiring, everything like that that's come from Thrive has allowed me to be okay with that decision now. Well, as I'd have been like, let's just go up the road and take that meeting in a cafe. Because then if anything goes wrong, I'm like 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
type thing. So yeah, it's a whole change in mindset basically that comes from it.
So you made the decision, you jumped in with both feet, you're a spender, you're like, okay, I've got to do something different. How quickly, from the point of joining, if you can remember 3 years ago, Jodie, how quickly did you then start to see changes and things happening and you feeling different about stuff?
Within the first few months, my mindset started to change because I was getting the accountability that I needed.
Yeah.
So, if you're a clinic owner, there's no one above you. There just simply isn't anyone above you. So there's no one keeping you accountable. So I guess the case of that is Thrive is my accountability and the people in Thrive are my accountability buddies. So we share ideas, we generate ideas together. And that came in immediately for me. But that happened overnight. But the terms of like financial and mindset within the first year, 100%. Like our numbers changed when we had the right processes in, when we got the right accountants in place, all that started to happen. But obviously there's a trend with that. So you're tracking that over a few months. It doesn't just happen overnight. But I suppose as a clinic owner, you have to be in the mindset to want to do that. So it comes from within, but certainly the accountability side of that helps massively. So you don't end up on that hamster wheel at the end of January where you're going, yeah, I told myself I would do that in January, and then you don't, because actually there's no one keeping you accountable. So unless you keep your own mindset going, it's going to drop off. It's like a New Year's gym resolution type thing.
Which is so hard, isn't it? How often, Jodie, do we have calls every single week together? There is always a mindset issue within somebody within the program that crops up that we have to work through together, and it's often the sign of growth. It's a growing problem and we need to work through it. But without that, you run the risk of going back to a lot of old ways, which can be the people pleasing, the trying to be everything to everybody, nothing to nobody, and you put yourself last.
And then the other side of that is, we had a great Q&A yesterday. Someone's mindset's in a certain position, and actually that triggers other people's mindsets that they don't realise actually they're going through that as well.
Yeah.
So you kind of talk it out. So you get ahead of the game on your mindset sometimes because you've just pushed it, as you say, you just pushed it. Actually, having that accountability of a weekly check-in means you can just air anything that's there and then. But it's only a week until you've got your next time to air. So yeah, that brings that to the forefront.
Yeah.
As a business owner.
You started on Activate, Jodie, which is our level of program for clinic owners who are sort of doing around 3, maybe 4K a month, going up towards the top end would be about sort of 10 to 12K a month. It's not exact, but that's around where we have lots of members, because the challenges that those members tend to have are different than those who have multiple 6-figure clinics, lots of team, big premises, etc. The challenges are different. Not one is better or worse, they're just different. So you came into Activate, and what surprised you about the program that perhaps you didn't know you were going to get, or that was kind of an added extra that you felt, okay, I just need to be told what to do and in what order? What was the other stuff that kind of came along that surprised you?
So I think, I knew it was going to be a community-based thing and I was going to get coaching and this portal and everything like that. But I think what really helped me within the first year and made me thrive within that year was the one-to-ones with your sales side. You look at working on processes and fill up with a mindset, because I just never really looked into mindset. She'd laugh with me now because we now do our mindset calls and she's like, this is going to be woo-woo. But at the same time, I think you're there now. And I'm like, I love the woo-woo stuff. So that side of stuff, where it really tailors to you, you can literally offload and say, this is where I'm at. I don't know why it's working. We strategize, we plan. And that's why I think my business particularly excelled within its first year.
Yeah.
Hands down. So yeah, that stuff surprised me, but also like the check-ins, the face-to-face, quarterly, when we do all of our masterclasses, all of that side of it, that I don't think I've missed one, really. I don't think I've missed one, because I think it's really important that you action that in a room with everyone that you might not necessarily be around on a week-to-week basis because of our pod groups and our Q&As and stuff. But also I like competition. So I actually prefer to be around those that are above me. So I have no problem with working with the Elevate Masters, all of those ones that are a bit further on in, because I aspire to be like them. So that pushed me on more. because on a week-to-week basis, I was working with my Activate group, but actually at the bigger events, I was like, oh, I like that. And I was implementing that stuff. So I think that then took my business on further.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I mean, the face-to-face days, the live days are my favourite part because they're the best. Why do you think they work so well, Jodie? What do you think our clinic owners get from being in attendance at those?
I think the structure of the day is always brilliant. There's a clear plan of what we're going to target, and people know that in advance. So they can almost go, right, that's coming up. If it's activate marketing or elevate marketing, then you're like, this is my marketing month.
Yeah.
Because then you're in a room full of clinic owners who can just be away from their business and just sign off for the day. And yes, it's very normal to receive an email, and we try not to look. But it gives you that whole day of like a green light to say, work on this. And then you're strategizing around the rest of your group or whoever you're paired with or whoever you're working with. And you can feed off each other. So by the end of that action day, you have got ideas you didn't come up with that you can go back and implement. You can bring that to your team, which is exactly what I do now because I've got a team, things like that. And then you can put a clear action plan in place.
Yeah.
So for me, it's actually taking myself away. And I literally just say to my team, I'm not here for 2 days. Don't contact me. I'm on Thrive. I'm working on us and my business for you guys too. And they do. But that comes from having a team in place. So that works well.
Good.
I just like to delve into it.
Oh, I know. Oh, they're just the best days. So you joined Activate, you've worked on Activate, and you just give people, those people who like numbers, who like data. Where were you? And then where were you after you'd been with us a year, 18 months, or we have moved you into the next level?
Yeah. So we started around that margin, so 3-4K a month. And then within the first year, so that was self-employed, so sole trader.
Yeah.
And then within the first 18, it was just me. So then within the first year, I took on my member of staff, Hannah, and we started to grow the business. So that's when we took the clinic where we are now. I had one treatment room, and that was an opportunity for me to go, I've got staff member now, so I take my hours down. I had to get my mindset right. So instead of going in and having 2 treatment rooms, where I knew I would be like, oh, there's 2 treatment rooms, I'll let Hannah work the hours she wants to do, and I'll just continue doing my 70 hours. It almost forced me into a decision to go, I have a staff member now, we need to work shift patterns, because otherwise I can't be in all the time.
Yeah.
Which then in turn, we looked at the upspend, and, we had more income generating because we had a treatment room which could be open 9 till 9 if we wanted to, 6-7 days a week, which then made me decide that I won't do home visits anymore. So that's it, cut them. And then within the first 18 months, we then had the scary letter through that we'd hit that threshold, which was like, okay. So we were starting to turn £8,000-9,000 consistently a month. So literally double within 18 months. And then, now we've just hit our first year as a £100,000 business by the end of 2024. So actually with that would be 2 full years with Thrive. We've doubled, tripled the income. But the potential with that's grown because our team's grown. So yeah.
And I like revenue, right? Revenue's great because revenue's cash and money. But it's a top line, it's a vanity metric. If we then think about what that actually has done, so we've tripled the revenue in 2 years, but what has it done for you, Jodie? Because you are like you're not in clinic 70 hours a week now. You're not doing home visits.
No.
Your life has completely changed. You get to do things that you want to do in your life. So what?
Yeah. So I now do 4 clinical days. So I have 2 off, which are my Thrive days, where I work on the business and implement things that I need to do. But my income's not changed. If anything, my income's gone up. So there's the revenue margin, then we have our profit level, then we have our tax man, and then VAT, because we're not exempt as sports therapy. But at the end, there's this growth margin that we can have. So there's a certain percentage put in place that we can actually pull through each month to then grow further. And that might look like CPD opportunities, invest in new equipment, whatever it is, to bring those markers back up. So we're always evolving with that. In terms of me, I don't finish at 9 o'clock every day now. On a Wednesday, I finish at 5.
Oh,
and I know that that's a decision. Like I know now I'm at a position, this is probably our next growth phase, is that I can come out even more, which would be amazing. Scary, but amazing. But at the moment, I'm very content with doing 4 clinical days. That's what I've made the decision. That's what I want to do with my patients. I still want to be an active therapist, but I don't have to. I could employ that onto other staff.
And I think what you just said there is really important, Jodie, because I actually had a call with a gorgeous lady who I met at Therapy Expo this November. So really, really similar story. And she was saying that she'd had a coach previously. I don't think they were in the health industry, but she said the coach was really adamant that she needed to get out of a business and she needed to stop doing clinical work. And I said, but if that's not what you want to do, then we need to make sure that your growth plan is aligned around what's important to you right now. That might change. It often does. Owners, we start as therapists, don't we? And you absolutely love the business side of it, and that's what happened to me. Is I just got more and more into it, and I was less filled by clients. But this lady was really passionate, like you just said. I want to be an active therapist, so you can still grow your business, you can still see clients.
100%.
But what we have to make sure is that there are key things that need to happen in your business for growth. And if you can't sit in that seat because you want to be clinical, we have to have somebody else sat in that seat to make that happen. You can't just ignore it and think, oh, well, I just won't do the finance because I've got no time, or I'm not going to do any marketing because I've got no time.
No, and I think, again, that comes from processes. So I've just made an active decision to bring Hannah, who's been with me for a while, in as clinical lead. So we're going to shift the mindset on that and how actually the company runs. So effectively, I'm going to sit now as director, CEO. She's going to come in as clinical because I've worked out that's not my zone of genius, and that's fine. And we've got more team, and it's hard to manage. So I need to use her strengths and bring her in.
Yeah.
But that means that's not going to affect her clinical role or mine. So she's just going to get more responsibility, and with that, it's kind of honouring what she's done for me over the past 2 years. And she wants to be there, and she wants to be clinical. So great, I'm going to use that. But I say to the staff, if I'm on a Monday and Thursday, I'm not in. They're my strategy days. They're my training days. They're some here as well. It's just I need those 2 days, but I could foresee that potentially coming down even more this year, just based on where I'm going and where I'm navigating. And it's not because I don't love what I do, but also it comes down to a point where I want to work with the patients that truly I serve better. So they're my ideals, and I can pass them on to my team because I trust my team.
Yeah.
And they don't necessarily need to see me or stay with me. So we can still serve. I think I had a real fear when I first started that I need to serve everyone. I need to treat everyone. I want to help everyone in pain and injury because we're therapists. But actually, that's a disservice because then we can't give them the extra niceties and the good stuff. Infinite. Because I can't work on that good stuff. So.
And you've really worked on what I call your conditions for delivery. So you have implemented price rises year on year since you've been with Thrive. You have implemented packages. You've changed your way of working completely. What impact has that made on the business, apart from tripling your revenue and giving you more time back?
Yeah. And obviously when it doesn't sit well, price rises will never sit well. And I sat there toying with it. We've just done one for January, which is now coming into effect in February. And it is a bit, it doesn't sit well with you as an owner because we're not in our industry. I think naturally, as salespeople, we're not. Like, our strategy is healthcare. It's pain and injury. It's helping this person in front of you that's rifling in pain. And I think we'd all love to say, that's free, like the NHS, but it's not. And we're doing a service, and you've got to be paid for that. And actually, with expertise comes higher fees. And I'm 10 years into my healthcare profession, so my team aren't. And you've got to get your mindset shifted into actually you are director, you are put into the business, and you are worth that. And actually, if you're we're very fortunate, we do have teams, so we have a structure in place where we have different charge rates. So actually we can still serve who we need to serve, because if they can't do my prices, we can pull them down into my other therapists who are just as good. It just comes down to experience. It's that side of it. So I think that's really important to get the numbers where they have been. That's probably why they have been, because we've had to take bold decisions which haven't felt well, but we've had to do it. And yes, we might have lost 10% when we've done a price rise, but then we track that, and 6-7 months later they're back to us because they've tried elsewhere because of price value, and that's fine. And we actually always say to our patients when we do a price rise, you're not stuck with us. Go away, see another therapist. Our door is always open, and we leave it at that. And they go, yeah, okay. And then, they go and try an osteopath or whoever it is. And then they come back to us and say, actually, you do your check-ins, you give us a free thing with our packages. Your rehab plans are set better. They feel like they get that person to go away more with us, and then they see the value, and then we keep them again. So it's a scary thing.
You've shifted from a price-dependent decision to a value-based decision, and that is the key.
100%. Yeah. So now when I do the price structures, I look at what I want to give in those packages as a value. So how much contact time they get with a therapist, how much personal care they get after a session, whether that's a WhatsApp message or a phone call or that's by email. What nicety can we give? Is that a care package of Epsom salt, copper, heat, whatever it is, and then I price it. Yeah. Whereas I think before, when I was doing price rises, which I know when I started with Thrive, my mind was on, it's like £1 to £2 price increase every year, but we were undervaluing to start with. So we were like, bottom line was all wrong. So now it's shifted. So now I say that's the value of what someone's getting. That's what our minimum bottom line is. And then we need to meet in the middle to give the discount. And that's why our ad hocs are significantly higher than our packages. But that's because I know what our bottom line is.
Because you know your numbers so well.
Right.
And you love a spreadsheet, Jodie. You absolutely love a spreadsheet.
Love a spreadsheet.
So you have just moved into elevate level now because you now have a team. We're a 6-figure business. We've got different challenges. And one of the things that we have been working with you, Jodie, and we continue as we do with all of our members, I think a big thing is leadership and is stepping into or out of your clinician shoes and into, oh my God, I'm a leader now. And the buck stops with me. I say all the time, all problems are a leadership problem. And you've got lots of team, different challenges, different personalities, different things that they are your biggest asset, but they're also often your biggest challenge. So that's something that you are really leaning into, isn't it, this year in terms of your development?
And I would say right now, that's probably my biggest struggle that I'm working on, like really working on. Thank God for Philippa's mindset call the other day. Honestly, I always thought I'm a good leader. I've coached in sport, teach side of things, but when it comes to team, it's a different scenario in a clinical setting because I've come to terms with I can't duplicate myself. And although I can put all these processes in place, people think differently to me. They comprehend things differently to me. And actually it comes from a place of being able to recognize that. And I think within the last, I would say 2 months, but obviously we had our Q&A the other day and you just gave me the kick up the ass. I've got someone in team that's naturally brilliant at that, at leading a team that thinks differently and all that. So that's why I'm now utilising her in a clinical lead setting, basically. And that's fine. And actually that isn't my zone of genius. And I've come to terms with that. But it's super hard because you want to say, why is it not working for you? Because it works for me. I don't understand. The other day I was like, I don't get it. Like when I do my recalls, they reply to my WhatsApp. So what are you doing? I don't get it. Or I do, and it comes across on my face because I'm a rant that I'm like, well, why aren't you understanding that? So yeah, I've recognised it. I'm really, really trying, as Philip was saying, and putting things in place to help with it. And I think that will just work smoother all round. I think my team will be happier. I think I will certainly be happier because I said to Hannah today, it bores me. It bores me. And I feel tedious and then my mood changes with that. And then when I'm clinical, I want to be clinical. I don't want to be CEO. When I'm in my clinical role, I just want to treat.
Yeah.
So I don't have the time at the moment. I suppose I am time poor again with the whole mentorship of the team now because I'm still strategizing, doing all that side of it because that's going to continue because I'm CEO. Yeah. But the whole team leadership thing, I don't have the hours if I want to still be clinical to mentor the team, and that's been a recognised thing. So that's why we're shifting how the company's going to run that.
Yeah, and your team need leadership in
100%. Yeah.
What capacity, whether it's you or you're delegating that role to somebody else, they have to be led. They have to know that they're going to get time. It doesn't have to be these constant check-ins all the time because we need to empower our team and set processes and standards for them to follow. But you recognised quickly, Jodie, that you were like, I'm literally just banging my head against a brick wall here, and my energy is not great with some of my team members. And so it's looking at how you're wired. We've talked about you being a red alert, and lots of our listeners will understand what that means. But we also look at your strengths. So we do a Clifton Strength Finder, don't we? We know how you're wired, your top strengths. And so we can then start to put you in the right seat and give you the right roles. Because just as if you're a CEO, doesn't mean that you have to do the typical CEO roles. If you're not wired for that, we need to delegate that and move that away from you.
Definitely not. And it came to prevail because when I communicate, I over communicate with my team. I want to tell them everything because I want them to feel like it's they're part of it. If I put this process in place and this and this and this, I have a Google Drive, I do it by email, do it by WhatsApp, blah, blah, blah. It's too much. So I've obviously, I appreciate, probably overloaded my team to some aspect. And I work way more better in the evening. Like I can be up at 2 o'clock in the morning and doing something really strategic. And my partner will say, how are you still on that? Like, why is your brain not? And like, because I'm in the zone.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. My problem with that is if I've completed that at 2 a.m., I'll ping that email to my team. So then what will happen is they'll go, what were you doing? I didn't realise that on Google Mail you could schedule a send. So that, funnily, has been the topic of conversation for the last 2 weeks in clinic. Now I've made an active decision to send a 9:30 email on a Monday morning, and I promise not to send it to because in my head, I was like, oh yeah, they'll just pick that up when they're back on work.
Yeah.
Forgetting that obviously sometimes it's personal laptop, sometimes it's personal phone. So actually, they're picking it up as soon as they wake up and they're like, oh my God. But it works better for me, what doesn't work better for them. And I appreciate that. So we've had to put a process in place, which now that works. And Hannah, bless her, she's always like, that's just how Jodie works.
Yeah.
Just let Jodie work. Turn your do not disturbs on, whatnot. But actually it did shake them. So I did have to appreciate that. And yeah, we move on in that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just funny. I did not realise that you could use send schedule in Google Mail.
Absolutely. As a leader, we have to lead. I'm the same as you, Jodie. I could be like this morning at 5:30. I was replying to some email about something to Kelly, actually, our VA, and Kelly will just look at that time and reply back saying, "Really? Like really at 5:30?" And I'm like, "I know. I'm so sorry," but that's when I work really well first thing in the morning. So we've got to create boundaries. We say to our team, very clearly that we all have different working hours, and we make sure that we've got do not disturbs on, and that we've got time that you have allocated to deal with your emails. I have very specific slots in the day. That means I open up my emails, deal with, and then I'm off again. I don't just have them open all day long. So it's finding strategies that work for you, but leading from a place of what your expectations are and making sure you're protecting your team and you're leading by example as well.
100%.
So Jodie, you've tripled your revenue. You've gone from 70 hours clinical plus to 4 days.
26 hours.
Oh my God. So 70 hours to 26 hours.
Over 4 days, yeah.
Over 4 days. Your income has increased. You have more time out of the business. You're going abroad this weekend on a business meeting. You come to Thrive Days. You never miss a beat with those because you know how valuable they are. You have holidays. You've been on, oh my God, I can't remember how many hen do's you've had in the last year. 5 hen do's in the last year. And your business has continued to grow. So for anybody who is massively inspired by your story, because I am, what would you say to them? Because there's a lot of people that just can't get out of their own way. What would be your advice?
I think, where do you want to be in a year's time? That was a good word to start. And what does that look like for you? So almost like visionary. So, and then I think what I did at the time I met you was I want to be there in a year's time. So that looks like me not working 70 hours a week. My income's at and then ask the question, do I know how to achieve that? And if the answer is no, then you need help. That's as simple as I can kind of put it, because you don't have the strategies in place. We're not taught that at uni on our degrees. Business isn't taught unless you've done a business. And I every week learn something, 100%. Where I'm like, oh God, yeah. And I think that's a topic of conversation we always say. It's not learning at uni. And I know I bring that in now to my team talks. I'm not having a go, guys. This isn't actually taught at uni. I'm teaching it to you because I've learned it from Thrive.
Yeah.
And it emanates down the team. But yeah, if you can't vision yourself where you want to be in a year's time or 5 or 10, and you don't know how to get there, then coaching is the way forward with it. And then you've just got to entrust the process, and it's not going to happen overnight. And I think if you think it's just going to happen overnight and it's 50% coaching, 50% you, actually it's completely wrong. It's probably 80% you and 20% coaching. Like, you have to take your accountability, but Thrive at least allows you to have that accountability outside of the coaches with your team talks and the WhatsApp groups and the strategy days. And actually then you're sat in a room with other people that have either been there and done it or got a t-shirt or going through the journey, which is massive, because I can appreciate that sometimes it feels like, well, it's a coach that's doing well telling me, but as clinic owners, actually as members, that's not the case. So, we've all been there. Some aspect. It comes from you going through it yourself and all the other coaches to be able to empower us as members. So
Yeah,
it's a leap of faith at the end of the day. I think that you're only gonna, if you want that tailored, like we give to our patients. If we're giving that tailored one-to-one care to our patients, and why aren't we giving it to our business? This is how I now look at it. But why aren't you tailoring the one-to-one plan into your business, which would be you guys? So
amazing advice. Jodie, you're now buzzing off to do a million other things, as you do, because you're such a busy lady. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for inspiring all of our listeners. And I hope that just one person, as a result of today, takes that step forward.